Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to talk about how to maintain slash just kind of like, you know, lubricate your slip joint, because I don't know if everybody knows, what the deal is, how to do it, what you should do. I mean, this is my method, obviously, not what everybody should do. But let me grab one of my Jack Wolves. Here's one I carry a lot. This is the Midnight Jack. So I got the Midnight Jack here, which I absolutely love. Just, oh yeah. And then I have the QSP Hedgehog. This is the traditional pocket knives exclusive. And you'll see here what happens sometimes is, look at that. That's disgusting, right? Well, you should oil your slip joint. You should oil the tang corners, and that's what we're going to talk about. And then it breaks in, guys. Like, it has material wearing on one another, right? You have two titanium scales in these cases, and then you have phosphor bronze washers, the pivot, obviously, and then you have the M390 steel, and then you have the steel spring back here, right? And you also have a stop pin. So you have a lot of things kind of rubbing, technically, or touching, and that's going to cause stuff to get in there because it's wearing, right? When you have two metals that wear together, it usually turns into like black shit. And then if you have KPL in there or any other lube, whatever you want to use, it'll turn into kind of like a sludge or chunk sometimes. And that's what you see on the slip joints. So what I do, at least for the first couple of weeks that I have the knife and am carrying it regularly, is I will oil the tang corners, and then pretty much daily, sometimes multiple times a day, I will clean that out, re-oil it, and you just do that kind of a bunch of times over a couple of weeks, and then it wears in completely, and then it usually stays pretty clean. Like, I've had this one for months, and I've carried the shit out of it, and it looks pretty good, right? Like, obviously we need to clean it up a little bit, and I'll show you how I go about that. So let's check it out. We'll start with this one here, the QSP Hedgehog. First off, this dropped on the 15th of December at 8 p.m. This video will be up after that, but this knife is incredible, guys. I don't know another way to put it. I've raved about it since I got it, and it is goddamn impressive, especially for $145. It is the best thing next to a Jack Wolf I have ever handled. So I'll take a corner of a cloth like so, and I'll just kind of ride it in and wipe out whatever I need to, right? You can use whatever you want, obviously. This is your show. I'm just showing you what I do. Clean it out like that. Open it. You'll notice almost immediately that the action kind of slows down a little bit. If you have it lubed properly, it gives it a nice, really like crisp, glidey feel, if that makes sense. And as soon as you take that away, it kind of, dries up a little bit. So if you want to wear the knife in real fast, you could run it dry, I guess, but it's not going to be as nice. And who doesn't want to like clean their knife out occasionally? That stuff's fun. So we obviously have the blade open, and we got in there. The important things that you want to clean on, at least in my opinion, on a slip joint. And this, guys, this information is based on not taking the knife apart. So I want to note that disassembling a slip joint is not the best idea unless you know what you're doing, because once you remove the blade from the spring, it's really hard to get it back on, especially on a nice, I should say, on a slip joint with a heavier spring. Like all the ones you're going to see here have a pull weight of at least, 6 probably. So that means that spring, as soon as you remove the blade, that spring's going to want to go in, right? That's what the whole point is. It's bent. And so when you go to put the knife back together, you have to get pressure against the spring, enough of it to push the blade back onto the pivot. That can be a pain in the ass. Some people use like vices and stuff you can push against or whatever. So I don't advise it unless you've done it before, you know what you're doing. I've never done it, so it's hard for me to talk, but I have taken apart some back locks, and it kind of a little bit of a similar idea, except with the back lock, you have a way to kind of push it out of the way to get it back on. So this tutorial, so to speak, is for knives that are assembled, and it's just sort of routine maintenance you can do on the go, at home, whatever, just to get your slip joint in proper working order. Another thing I want to note is centering obviously is a big deal to me, but you know, sometimes slip joints just aren't dead center, and it's not the end of the world. For some reason with slip joints, it's less of a thing that bothers me, but sometimes you can just kind of push it over a little bit. Or you can obviously adjust the pivots depending on how the slip joint is made. In this case, they just have basically a captured pivot system, and it's like a modern where you just screw it on. And lastly, I want to mention, well, let's back up to that again. You can kind of tune the pivot a little bit. If a pivot is over tightened on a slip joint, basically what some people call, you know, clamping. If it's over tightened, it'll really tighten your action up to where it's like, ooh, what's wrong with this knife, right? And that's the case with a lot of pocket knives, honestly. Sometimes knives are just shipped from factory a little too tight. We saw it a little bit on our Divo knives growler, where it seemed like Shieldon maybe over tightened the pivots on a few of the knives, and people were getting them, and it made it harder to flick the knife all the way. It would almost like fail the knife. And you can obviously make adjustments if needed. But anyway, so just take that into consideration, that you might also want to adjust that if you're comfortable doing it. A knife like this, you just use that one with a T8, and it's just like a modern knife. On the Midnight, it's similar, except it has two. Now, they're not, in my opinion, I haven't noticed them being spinning. I've noticed them kind of being separate. It's kind of like a Spyderco, where you don't really need to have two drivers to, you know, you just loosen one and loosen the other. And you can actually take both out and still operate the knife just fine. So anyway, just a little bit different there. But anyway, so we clean it out, and you can take the knife apart, so to speak, without taking the blade off the spring. So technically, you could take out this pivot screw, take these off, and pop this scale off, and you would have the blade just sitting on the spring. And then you could clean everything you wanted to and put that cover back on. Now, in this case, because it has that pivot that goes through, I think it would be hard to do both sides, but you probably could push the pivot through and then take this side off and clean it. But that's a little risky. On the Jack Wolfs, it would be a little easier because you have two screws. You can just take screw off, screw, get under there, take the frame screws off, take it off, clean, put everything back together without having to take anything apart. That's going a little too far for me. In my opinion, with a slip joint, you shouldn't ever really need to take it apart unless there's something really wrong with it, in which case you should probably just be dealing with warranty. And I would venture to guess that most slip joint makers / sellers would agree with not going that far, you know? So the important things to note are you have these tang corners, and that geometry is what gives you your walk and talk and makes it snappy, right? Gives it a nice crisp bounce like that. The spring tension obviously plays a part. So if you have a really weak spring, it's not going to jump to that half stop as well. But having the correct geometry on that tang corner is what gives it so that when it passes the hump, right? When it passes that, boom, it wants to jump to the next. And then same thing right there. So there's multiple tang corners. You have one right there that we need to address. And then you want to also oil this one right here. And then that would be the back end of the other one, right? But that's basically what you want to get oil onto. If you want to also oil the washers, which are obviously around the blade inside the pivot, you could just try to get some ultralight oil. I used KPL Ultralight, so quick plug for KPL. KnifePivotLube.com. They sell 3 types of oil, 4 now technically, but it's not available, the dry kind. But you have 5-weight ultralight. You have, I think, 15-weight original. And then you have 75-weight heavy. And it's kind of preference as to what you want to do. But I tend to use original on the tang corners. And then if you do want to get in there to get to the washers, you can get the ultralight and kind of just squeeze it in around the sides. Maybe spray some canned air in there and just, you know, try to get it down to the washers, work it in, and then clean out the excess. So that's what I would recommend. Go check out knifepivotlube.com. I do have a discount code, Lefty10, you can use. It does support the channel as well. There's a link in the description of every video to all my affiliate links, discount codes, all that stuff. So if you guys ever want to save some money or help the channel, you just head down to that description and that'll you know, show you what to do there. But let's get to it. So I wiped it off with a cloth. I'm going to do the same thing to this one while we're here with this. Just take the cloth, kind of shove it in there. That's what she said. Wipe it all off like this. Do the best I can. And then I kind of just take some air, blast anything that might be hanging out there. Do that. And then I get my KPL swabs out. This one's been used. I got a stack of them here because I was just cleaning up another knife. You can get these at knifepivotlube.com as well. They're little microfiber Q-tips. And they come in a little pack like this. You can also get a huge pack of like 100 or something like that. But so let's take a bunch of these out here. If you're curious about the disassembly tray, this is from Tinker Force. Very affordable. These are coming out in early 23. This XL size, I think it's going to be called. And I love it. But the large one that is available is 21 bucks and fantastic. So definitely get yourself a good disassembly mat. I have a video on disassembly mat. So there is our KPL original. Here's our heavy, which I'm not going to be using right now. And then here's the ultralight, which I don't think I also need, but maybe we'll do it just to show you. What was I about to? Oh, KPL also has this dry film. Right now, it's only available in their holiday box, which again is going to be at the website link down below. And basically what it does is it is a liquid lubricant that evaporates like almost immediately. It's very lightweight. Look at that. And it evaporates really quickly, and then it leaves behind a sort of residue or whatever of lubricant. You can see my hand is just drying up pretty quickly for having just put a good amount of oil on it. Look at that. And it leaves behind a sort of lubricant. So one thing I want to say about that is the only way to get it is in the holiday box. You can maybe pick one up at this point. That might be over by now. But I tried this on a SlipJoint, and I did not have luck. I really didn't enjoy it. So that's going to be on you if you want to try it. I don't think I'd recommend this on a SlipJoint. So just want to put that out there. So take my Q-tip, get back in here, clean out the rest. Anything I can kind of squeeze and get to that I couldn't before. I'm going to open and close it. Enjoy that walk and talk for a second. And you can see, still fantastic. Now it's broken in a good bit because I have lubed it before, right? But at this point, it's probably broken in enough. I probably don't need to reapply. But I'm going to do it just to keep things smooth so nothing can get gunked up in there. Because there's little pieces of steel and whatnot can get into places, and then it will really jack your action up. So clean this one up. Open that. And one place I try to focus on is like down at the bottom here, because that's like the one place that is really hard to see what's going on down there. And you'll notice this one's really dirty and probably needs to be swapped out at this point. And I'll just spin it, try to make sure I keep a clean side hitting whatever. And again, all right, check for anything that came free during that process. Open it up. All right. All right, good to go. Set that aside. And then we're going to take another one, and we're going to take our, well, let's start with this so I can show you what I would do with this. So I would just take a little bit of this and put it like right here. So you see just a tiny bit is coming out, right? Because mainly I'm just doing this to show you, but little bit comes out, and it might squeeze on. It looks like it is squeezing on down there around the side of the blade. And then I'll take this guy and just give it a little bit. I'm not trying to go crazy here. I'm going to open and close it. Just try to let that work in. And then I'm going to take my cloth here again and just clean that all out. So you could probably just get away with using the ultralight on everything here and not having to do all the extra stuff I'm doing, but why not? You know, why not? I try to put it on a little bit of a lean so that I can, you know, hope the oil does soak in down there. Little air. Little air. Sorry, I gotta subject you guys to a lot of walking and talking tonight. What a bummer, huh? All right, so look at that. Just from putting that ultralight in there to clean it, to try to get into the pivot, we've opened up a little bit of schmutz, which is good. The more schmutz you see on your knife, honestly, to me, the better it is. You clean it, right? You clean it off, and then you have less schmutz. And whatever that schmutz is obviously coming out of your knife. So now you're just cleaning your knife. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. And obviously, one thing you want to note is be careful, you know. Put blue tape on the blade or whatever, captain tape, if you're afraid of getting cut, obviously. All right, so opened and closed it a few more times just to kind of get anything excess off of here. Then I'm going to take the KPL Original. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use the heavy. Take the heavy. Usually I prefer the heavy, so it's just... And again, it's completely up to you. I just take a little bit like this, and I put it on every one of those corners. So very simple process. Just kind of go doot, doot. That's it. I got it right there. I might want to get a little bit leaning this way, like that. And then I try to just get right here. And I open it, like that. And I hit this corner. Like that. And then I just clean up that little bit I put on there. Or that I hit the scales with. Same thing here. And then what you do is you work it in by walking and talking, baby. And almost immediately I can feel a difference in how snappy it feels. Just jumps really nicely. Look at that. Pop, pop. And you can always keep doing this if you see, like right there, you see how it's getting a little bit of black stuff there. So it's still kind of working itself in. So you could keep going, and you could do this over and over and over if you really wanted to. It's up to you, however you like to handle it. I usually will do it once or twice, and then I will just let the knife do its thing, and I'll clean it again in, you know, a week if I carry it a lot, a month if I don't, whatever, right? So there we go. And yeah, it's still getting the black goop, and my OCD is kicking in now. So, hang on. God damn it, Kev. I didn't realize the midnight was going to be dirty. God damn it. So you can see this corner is not bad. But that other one, I might just have too much oil. It looks like it's still oiled. Ooh, almost, Kev. Yeah, it still feels fantastic. I might have just over-oiled it. Yeah, so there we go. That's that one. And then we have this one. Just need to grab a couple more Q-tips. You guys kind of get the picture at this point, but might as well finish up the process here so you see exactly how I do it. We cleaned everything on this, right? We put the ultralight in. Get our heavy onto the Q-tip. I kind of let it soak in a little bit. And then I'll hit that corner. Might use a little less this time. Use the back side here to just smooch it around. Put a drop there, like that. Open it. Get this side. And then use the back side. Move it around. All right. See that pop, pop. And this one's staying clean. So this one I think is good to go. So cool. All right, I might just clean a little bit of excess off, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. Let's get a little bit of excess there. Let's see if we got any here. Yep, got a little bit in there. All right. Yep. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So there you go. I didn't realize they were both nice sheep's footy style blades too. So that's kind of how I maintain slip joints. I've never had to do more than that, so I can't speak for anyone, you know, in terms of having like actual kind of issues you have to do. I've had maybe 20 slip joints at this point. And carried Jack Wolf's regularly, carried this one a lot this week, and I've never had like big issues. The only thing that's ever happened to me is I had one Jack Wolf, I think it was the dog leg. When I got it, it just felt really, really rough, and that's when Ben was like, yeah, dude, you just got to hit it with KPL on the corners and just, you know, open and close it. And I did that, open and closed it 5 times or like 2 times. Boom. It was like magic. And the thing was money and has been ever since. So putting a little bit of oil on your tang corners and washers is obviously going to go a long way with a knife. So that is the end of that. Sorry for the long spiel, but if you're new to slip joints, maybe this helps. And if you're not a slip joint guy and for some reason you're still watching this, give it a shot, guys. I wasn't a fan either. Kind of made fun of them for the longest. And when it's GEC and whatever, that's still not my thing. I just don't like the look of those. They're too traditional, so to speak. But stuff like this is amazing. You get all the modern machining and whatnot, but you get an amazing feel. And I'll tell you, they cut, man. They cut amazingly well because they're usually razor thin, or they have an amazing full hollow grind like both of these. This is a full hollow. It comes down to like 10 thousandths, I think I measured. These are usually right around there. And then on top of all that, walk and talk is probably the fidgetiest thing. Like, hard to explain until you really get into it and you get good walk and talk. But this is so fun. It really is. It's amazing to open and close a slip joint repeatedly. I know that's weird. I know. To you that are not into it, it is so weird. But It's probably my favorite way to fidget with a knife at this point, is just opening, closing a slip joint. The only downside is you need 2 hands to do it. So that's about it. But anyway, I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.